Cyber risk is moving on several fronts at once, from active threats to broader defensive pressure. Welcome to the Kernel Panic Brief. Today we're covering several major cybersecurity developments that matter for defenders, security leaders, and incident response teams. Several vulnerabilities were reported as actively exploited or highly likely to draw immediate attacker interest. Our next story is Google and Microsoft pull ModHeader with 1.6 million installs after dormant collector found. Google and Microsoft have pulled ModHeader, a popular header editing extension, with roughly 1.6 million installs across Chrome and Edge, after researchers found a hidden browsing history collector built into its official store version. The collector was dormant, an empty allow list kept it switched off, and no proof has emerged that it ever gathered or sent a single browsing domain. The why this matters. The story signals a meaningful cybersecurity development that may affect defender priorities, exposure, or monitoring. For defenders, the immediate takeaway is to validate exposure, review detections, and confirm that response playbooks still match the current threat picture. Our next story is lessons learned from CISA's recent GitHub leak. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, has issued a postmortem on a recent data leak in which a contractor published dozens of internal CISA credentials, including AWS GovCloud keys, in a public GitHub repository for almost 6 months before being notified by KEV on security. Experts say the gaps identified in the agency's initial response provide important lessons that all security teams should absorb. On May 15, 2026, the security firm GitGuardian asked for help in notifying CISA about the existence of a public GitHub repository called Private CISA that included 844 megabytes of sensitive CISA-related data. One of the exposed files, titled Important AWS Tokens, included the administrative credentials to 3 Amazon AWS GovCloud servers. Another file, AWS Workspace Firefox Passwords.csv, listed plaintext usernames and passwords for dozens of internal CISA systems. CISA quickly acknowledged our initial alert, but took more than 48 hours to invalidate the AWS keys and many other important secrets leaked in the GitHub repo. In its report on the data leak, CISA said the complexities of the agency's systems and interconnections with federal and industry partners caused its key rotation to take longer than anticipated. Drawing on this experience, CISA encourages others to maintain mature and well-tested key management capabilities, the report notes. CISA also admitted it can do better when it comes to responding. Why this matters. Confirmed exposure or compromise changes risk calculations for affected organizations, customers, and partners, and downstream partners. For defenders, the immediate takeaway is to validate exposure, review detections, and confirm that response playbooks still match the current threat picture. Our next story is CISA warns of actively exploited RCE flaws in Joomla extensions. The U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, is warning that attackers are exploiting vulnerabilities in the iCagenda and Balbooa Forms extensions for Joomla to achieve remote code execution through arbitrary file uploads. Why this matters. Active exploitation raises the chance of immediate real-world impact and shortens response time. For defenders, the immediate takeaway is to validate exposure, review detections, and confirm that response playbooks still match the current threat picture. Our next story is CISA adds one known exploited vulnerability to Catalog. CISA has added one new vulnerability to its known exploited vulnerabilities KEV Catalog, based on evidence of active exploitation. CVE 2008-4128 Cisco IOS cross-site request forgery vulnerability. This type of vulnerability is a frequent attack vector for malicious cyber actors and poses significant risks to the federal enterprise. Binding Operational Directive, BOD 2604, prioritizing security updates based on risk, establishes vulnerability management requirements for federal civilian executee. Why this matters. The story includes a specific vulnerability and remediation signal, which makes it directly actionable for defenders. For defenders, the immediate takeaway is to validate exposure, review detections, and confirm that response playbooks still match the current threat picture. Our next story is 4365 FIS targets Microsoft 365 with device code and ATM session theft. This is the latest development in an ongoing issue we have been tracking. A new phishing-as-a-service, FAS operation called 4365 is using a combination of device code phishing, adversary-in-the-middle ATM tactics, anti-bot evasion, artificial intelligence, AI-assisted lure creation, and post-compromise mailbox operations targeting Microsoft 365 accounts. Distributed via Telegram and costing $400 a month or $3,800 per year, attack chains leverage phishing. Why this matters. The story signals a meaningful cybersecurity development that may affect defender priorities, exposure, or monitoring. For defenders, the immediate takeaway is to validate exposure, review detections, and confirm that response playbooks still match the current threat picture. That is your kernel panic brief. If you rely on this roundup, follow the channel for the next daily cybersecurity briefing.